Okay, so it's almost a year later, and we're doing the other side of the axle bearings. We pulled the brake drum, pulled the whole assembly off, and I don't know if it was just this particular brake drum because it was all gummed up and dirty, or if they're all like that. But what I did is I got in there on this side, right through the bearings, and I was able to get a screwdriver on that lip. I didn't touch the actual splines. There are splines in there on the lip, and with a soft-faced hammer, I just tapped this drum out. Put it up on two 2x4s just so I'm catching the aluminum housing edge, and this was free underneath there, and I just tapped around clockwise so it didn't get bound up, and it punched right through. So right now what I'm looking at is this is the bearing right here that needs replaced, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's wobbling pretty good in there. It's got a pretty good wobble. The other side actually went bad too again, so we're doing both sides this time. And I'm going to go ahead and shut the video off. We're going to look around. I think there's probably a snap ring or something in there that we got to find, and when I do, we'll be back. Okay, so we cleaned this out, and then I did find a snap ring in here, but I just want to verify something or tell you something. I really don't think that this is normal. We found this hole in the cover of the drum, which obviously allowed a lot of dirt to get in there. So we cleaned this gunk out of here, found the snap ring. My snap ring pliers are not wide enough to fit in there. It's a pretty big snap ring, so I just stuck a pair of needle nose in. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out with needle nose. I'm just gonna cover that in case it jumps. I don't want to fly out anywhere. Okay, so that's the snap ring that's out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this set up on a workbench so we can tap this out, kind of a little bit of easier work surface, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now we came over to the filthy workbench I have here and cleared off a spot to work, and we're going to use a 1 1/8 socket to punch this out. Now what we did is we took the snap ring off of this side, and I'm setting the aluminum housing on 2x4s. Move it around a little bit till you take the wobble out, and then we'll put that 1 1/8 socket on there and see if we can punch it out. Okay, so I took this into the parts cleaner and I cleaned out the inside of that real well. This I wasn't so successful with. It was pretty packed in there, but I cleaned out most of the dirt, and found out that this is it's made in Vietnam. Well, quality Honda does make stuff in Vietnam now. Okay. So, I'm going to put the seal back in. The seal has two sides. The flat side's going to stick out towards us. When you're looking at this side of the hub, this is where the brakes go. I'm just going to stick that right in there. And once again, my soft face hammer's not here, but we'll use the other soft faced hammer here. Now, I don't want to drive this through the other side because this will go straight through the other side. As you can see right there, that's all lined up now. The next thing I want to do is I want to pick this bearing up, and I don't want any dirt on it. This bearing seems to be, either way is going to be right. There's no direction on it. The one side's not different than the other. I'm going to stick that bearing right down on there like that, and as you can see, it's pretty much going, getting itself started. And we got to take that down the whole way. I'm not going to pop that out now, but there's a seat in there I should have showed you. Now this is the only part that I'm not really happy about, is I'm not going to hit this real hard because you can see I don't have a socket big enough to actually tap on the race unless I move this around, which that's a possibility. I got my 55-year-old ball peen hammer. I'm going to start tapping this into place. little bit tougher than what I thought. I really don't want to pound on those bearings. And I am kind of working this socket around, so I'm actually hitting so that this socket is staying on the race. I don't want to actually pound on the bearings. And it's going down in. We're not getting loads of success, but we're getting there. And you can see, can you get a shot in there? There, it lips down, the lip's down in here. So we still have a pretty, there's the lip right in there. So we still have a pretty long ways to go. We probably got a half. All right, so I went and I found a large washer that's gonna fit on there. And I'm gonna go ahead and try that. But what I'm pounding on here, this is a big piece of 4x6, just so you know. It fits in between the posts, the lugs for the brake and the brake mechanism. All right, there's our large washer. And this is our largest socket. Hopefully we can get a better even push on this. Looks like there's little pieces of wood from that block going in there, which I'm not happy about that. Try a little bit smaller. You get this side tapped in a little bit more here. Still got a little bit more space to go here. This is tight. This is very tight. I actually have a press. I think we're going to go over and put this on the press. I'm just not happy with the way it's going right now. So okay, so here we are over at the press. We made a few adjustments. We're going to go ahead and get this to press right in place, hopefully. I'm trying to make sure it's like everything's centered. All right, and that, it looks like it's going in very crooked. It's not going in very crooked, but it's still got a long ways to go. That is a tight bearing. I don't know if it's really supposed to be that tight. Okay, so we're back in the garage from the other shop, and we used a 16-ton press to push those bearings down in. Again, we used a pretty heavy-duty washer, and then put a large socket on top of that, and we pressed that down in. It was a chore. I wouldn't suggest doing this job without a press, with everything that we've gone through so far. But now I'm going to go ahead and attempt to put this snap ring back in. I did find my good set of snap ring pliers, so I'm thinking I might have an easier time with this. So it's amazing when you have the right tools how things go better. So it looks like the snap ring's pretty much in place. I'm just going to tap it in there. Make sure everything's nice and seated. I think I bent the snap ring a little bit taking it out. Don't know that I'm actually going to get it to go back in exactly where it's supposed to be, but I think that the spring is just out of it now. The spring's out of the spring. See, it's coming right back into place, but given where we're at and how tight that is in there, I do not believe we're going to have a problem with that. The snap ring's seated all around except for this ear right here, which, you know, in all intents and purposes, that should be snapped in too, but it's just not going to go back into place. So we can always order another snap ring. We could do a few different things, but as of right now, I think we're just going to put it back together. So that's changing the bearing and the seal. They're changed, and we can go ahead and put the brakes on and then go ahead and assemble the hub. Thanks for watching. I hope that helped. So we're doing the other side now, and I know the previous video you already saw that, but we already had the bearing put in when we were explaining what we did. I just wanted to point out that there is a little metal lip, and you could see this inside of your housing when you pull that out. We want to make sure that bearing goes down and seats onto that lip. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that bearing onto there like that, and it pops down in there pretty nicely. And I'm looking for my soft-faced hammer, which is where? We had it over there. I'll be right back. I'm going to start that in with the soft-faced hammer. It went in there pretty nice. And then I think we looked at this, and we gave you a different size socket, but this is Harbor Freight. The 38mm socket fits right on top of that bearing perfectly. And I'm just going to go ahead and tap that down. Get the bearing started. I'm going to change to a metal hammer now. And I'm actually feeling this. I could feel that bearing going down because I could feel this socket going into there. So I feel the bearing going down. And I'm pretty sure it's against the seat now. I'm going to tap it a couple more times to make sure. And again, I'm going in a counterclockwise motion when I'm tapping to make sure it gets down nice and even. And I don't feel any more movement. It feels like it's in place. And then I'll go ahead and set the seat on top of there. Okay, I think that's down the whole way now.